Hello and welcome to the channel. As always, like the video, and if you enjoyed the story, leave a comment on if you would want more. This fan fiction was not created by me, but in the description there is a link to the fanfic so you can show your support to the creator and read along. Without any more delay, let's dive into the story.
And besides, there's nothing wrong with humble materials. It's often the intent that makes a gift truly precious. Izuku blushed deeply. Anyway, there's something I wanted to try with it. It wasn't just to give you something. I have an experiment in mind with permeation and blood binding. I thought what you did was general enchantment. Not exactly. Blood binding is an enchantment, but there are others, and each sphere has their method. The celestial sphere uses writing with molten metal as the enchantment is chanted. The ethereal sphere has dunking items in blood, and the formula said. The elemental sphere has covering with mineral dust or sand, and the words spoken, and the natural sphere has the formula engraved. The item wrapped in leaves and the formula recited. Since I use ethereal magic, I use blood for the enchantments. Not only that, the librarian added. Blood binding is considered one of the most reliable bindings of all four spheres. Indeed, blood has the advantage of carrying a part of the user's life essence, which means the item is more closely bound than with other spheres. Mirio and Toshinori had to admit it was interesting. As Izuku instructed, the elder teen poured his blood in the container. Izuku immersed the bracelet in it and spoke. Balalo Iobla California talks, I bind this garment to him. The words always felt more eldritch when used as a full sentence. Simple words were merely strange, but entire formulas actually made him feel like he was casting a spell. The bracelet absorbed the blood, and Izuku could tell right away it was more resilient. When he tried to put it on, the item slipped from his wrist and, in fact, he felt like he had trouble merely holding it. Toshinori was the same. With Mirio, however, the bracelet neatly set on his wrist, neither too tight nor too loose, and not looking like it was about to leave. And now, try using permeation with your arm. Your clothes slip unless they are made from fibers grown from your hair, like your costume is. The bracelet is imbued with your blood. Permeation should affect it too. He was right. When Mirio phased his arm through the table, the bracelet didn't leave him, phasing along like it was a part of him. In a way, it was. Toshinori nodded. So, blood binding can be used to make sure young to goddess equipment is affected by permeation. Good to know. Mirio grinned sheepishly. Guess I'll have to put my whole wardrobe through the process. This is gonna hurt, not the slightest. The librarian reassured. A bucket of water in which you put a trickle of your blood will do just fine. Ah, good to know. We'll still need Izuku to enchant it, though, yes. Only a magician can reliably perform an enchantment. If you tried on your own, even using the right words, since you are a mage and have in fact a low magical potential that isn't even attuned to the ethereal sphere, it would do nothing. Too bad. Bah, not a problem. As I said, I don't need magic. Izuku, Toshinori, and the librarian all agreed. In 10 months, the blonde teen had made massive progress in the use of One for All, being able to use it at half power at all time. He still had a year in UA to complete his master, but that he had managed to go this far already remained impressive. Mirio looked at Izuku and grinned. He wasn't the only one who had made progress. Under the green-haired teen's clothes lay a slender yet deceptively strong musculature, born from his training at Dagoba Beach. Those who believed Izuku frail because he used spells would be in for a surprise, and, unlike Mirio, the boy used weapons as much as his fists. Bakugo and his cronies had tried to follow him to pierce his secret. Izuku had made sure they wouldn't succeed. Just to start with, he didn't go directly to Dagoba Beach. He went home first, and his bullies stopped there most of times. When they didn't, he used the hermit hand. If the cards weren't done rebooting by the time he reached the beach, he simply sparred with Mirio until they did. To this day, the explosive teen had no idea Izuku had a power of his own, or where his confidence came from, and Izuku wanted to keep it this way as long as he could. Toshinori nodded. So, ready for the entrance exam, my boy? As ready as I can be. Are you sure I can use my tools? Nezu gave his go-ahead. The teachers know as well. You wouldn't be penalized for using them, Izuku breathed. Unfortunately, without his tools, he was Quirkless. He knew it, and it was why his scalpel was concealed in his shoe at all time. The day of the entrance exam, Mirio and Toshinori wished him luck as they left him before UA's entrance. Izuku looked at it. No Koch-chan in sight. Good. He took a step and fell on his knees. A glance told him it was the uneven brickwork. The teen rose and sighed. Let's hope it wasn't an ill omen. A little away, a brown-haired girl with a round face and blush stickers gave him a pained look. If only she'd been faster. The written exam passed in a blur. Izuku was confident he had answered everything correctly. The real challenge would be the fighting part of the exam. He wondered what they would be up against. Teachers, pros, robots. He whooped along when President Mick made his introduction, excited to see the pro from so close. Unfortunately, he was the only one. One could hear a pin drop in the silence that followed. The teen groaned and hid his face. That was an ill omen. I am in trouble. As the pro explained the exercise, he was interrupted by a buff teenager with glasses and a square jaw. May I ask the question? There are 4 villains on the handout, yet you only mentioned 3. This level of incompetence is unbecoming of a place like UA. And you, with the curly hair, stop muttering. You're disturbing everyone. Izuku buried his face in his arms. Not my lucky day. At all. Sorry for the muttering. He hadn't noticed he was doing it. Toshinori and Mirio teased him to no end over it, but generally, they didn't mind. In fact, Mirio had taken to trying to decipher his mumble. On average, Izuku estimated he got about 30% right most times, 40 in his best days. The girl huffed, silver hair covering part of her face as her arms bent in awkward positions. Actually, his muttering isn't a problem at all. In fact, it is rather informative, so long as you can understand it. You must be angry because you cannot make head or tails of it. If you did, you would have kept quiet and focused on listening. The buff teen abruptly turned to her. You can. The girl shrugged. I can. He, too, noticed the last opponent. The shape and the size, and the fact it wasn't mentioned among the valued villains, probably means it isn't meant to be fought, and can be considered more of a hazard to amp the difficulty. After all, this is UA. Izuku blinked. That's the first time someone can understand me. Present Mick confirmed. Indeed, this villain is called the Zero Pointer and is completely worthless. It is also deadly enough you're safer running from it. Area hazard is perfectly accurate. Now, Izuku had to bite his lip when the pro shouted the school motto. He was already in hot waters for the introduction. As they left, he could see the buff teen looking embarrassed. He mentally prayed they wouldn't be in the same class. As they were taken to the various grounds, he was relieved to see him climb a different bus. The silver-haired girl, however, was with him. He gave her a smile. She returned it. As the gates opened, the teen checked his belt. The 2 decks were safely stored in their pouches. The signal was given. Izuku ran and drew 2 cards. 10 of hearts and strength. The teen combined them. Palinapi, the energy blade that emerged, was bigger than he was. It was also completely made of energy except for the guard, so his weight was the only thing he had to worry about. The other contestants gave him a weird look as he started swinging the massive sword around, cutting through the machines like they were made of paper. For a full minute, he hacked any robot and reached like a berserker of Eld. Then the sword faded and the teen took his breath. Alright, that was a good start. Let's see next. He took his bone scalpel and engraved sigils on his arm. Dawn, the sigil of energy, to power the others. Yuan, the sigil of time, to regenerate. Dawn, the sigil of movement, to go faster. Graph, the sigil of will, to endure. Tell, the sigil of knowledge, to be more aware. This is the entrance exam. Let's not get stingy on the buffs. Izuku felt the sigils power him, increasing his body's might above that of a regular human. As he prepared to draw, however, he noticed a girl who had been trapped under a pointer. Pushing the machine aside, he took his scalpel. Don't worry, he reassured her. It will only sting a little. She let him engrave Yuan on her arm. Slowly, her wounds vanished. Izuku didn't linger. In his head, a session with Mirio came back to mind. Pros are taught to privilege rescue above all else. Given the choice between catching a villain and saving a civilian, a good pro will always save the civilian. Really? Yes. Villains can be caught later. Civilians in trouble can risk their life, and this is something that cannot be recovered, hence why we aim to rescue first. He had a point, and Toshinori confirmed the fact. Izuku gripped the scalpel. He had chosen defensive blood magic because of his healing potential. So long as I keep a decent villain score, I doubt there's anything wrong with helping the others. After all, this is also part of being a hero. So, he went on, healing the contestants he met that needed it, while taking down any pointer that got close. He drew Gon and Yuan on the arm of a girl with a heavy ponytail and oddly revealing gym clothes. The girl then generated a cannon and blasted a 3-pointer with it. Then he drew 4 of diamonds and a moon and combined them. The Alpragors, burning darkness. 4 bursts of solid darkness sprung from the card and destroyed more pointers. Then a shadow loomed over him. Izuku turned to see a 3-pointer aiming at him. The wall of solid air manifested between him and the pointer, blocking the blow. Izuku lost no time drawing the devil and 7 of hearts and melting the machine. A friendly gesture, the wall ate brunette and they were on their way. A 2-pointer was rushing toward a bird-headed boar. The team drew 6 of clubs and the fool. Zongwonyo, wind roar. The gust threw the robot off balance. The bird-headed teen summoned a living, bird-shaped shadow that hacked at the robot. The pair shared a thumb up before going their way. Then the ground shook. A shadow loomed. Smoke and dust rose as a titan of steel rolled in the street. Everyone froze. Then they ran, and Izuku had no shame admitting he was among them. After all, President Mick had clearly said it was an area hazard, and it was deadly enough they were better off running. So, he ran with everyone else, right until he turned and saw a black-haired boy stuck under rubble. Then he bolted the other way. Too bad if it's an area hazard. Someone is in trouble and heroes rescue people. The teen had sharp teeth, and his skin was partially hardened, hence why he was merely stuck instead of being stuck and injured. Izuku reached for his decks. Please, be the world, please, be the world, please, be the world. He drew the world, along with King of Hearts. Standing over the stuck teen, he brought both cards together and shouted, "Buzzer BRANST, glorious protection." And glorious, it was. A translucent force field shimmering with 1,000 colors appeared over the pair. The zero-pointer's mechanical fist outright bounced against the barrier. The machine reared and made a sound that felt like a roar before bringing both fists together. The barrier still didn't bulge. As it hammered the protection, Izuku gritted his teeth. "I will not let you hurt him." He held the cards tighter. He would not yield. He had to protect the other teen. He couldn't yield. The exam would be over before the machine hurt them. As it was, they didn't have to wait that long. When they saw him resist the zero-pointer's assault, other contestants turned and glared at the machine. "I don't know if I can take it on a boy with a speech bubble for head hummed, but I can distract it." He started making sounds of crashing and exploding that physically manifested and collided against the pointer. Though it didn't send it reeling, it did give it claws. The girl with thorn for hair let them flow in the ground. One who so selflessly stand between a villain and their target shouldn't have to do it alone. Hang on. We will stop that fiend. Thorns sprung from the ground in thick tendrils that wrapped themselves around the machine, holding it off. The shapely girl with a huge ponytail brought her cannon and started firing shot after shot, her quirk generating the ammo. A brawny boy with thick lips called the others. "Open fire. Open fire. Take it out before the shield collapses." More contestants joined the group. The bird-headed team sent his shadowy partner to assault the pointer. The woolly brunette added his own wind barrier to the force field. Others blasted the robot with fire, lightning, energy, rocks, whatever they would get their hands on. The brawny boy himself took a sip of liquid and buffed himself before throwing debris at the machine. It worked. After what felt like an eternity and mere seconds before the exam's end was announced, the zero-pointer stopped moving, all lights fading from its mechanical eyes. Everyone relaxed as President Nick's voice echoed. "The test is over." The force field vanished. Izuku pushed the rubble, freeing the other boy. His hardened skin didn't have a scratch. "Are you alright?" "Yeah, thanks. That was very manly of you." Izuku shrugged, a smile on his face. "A friend told me heroes prioritize rescuing people. You needed help. I helped you." The boy returned the smile and held his arm. The other contestants gathered around them, worried. The pair reassured them. Yes, they were fine. Neither had a scratch, courtesy of a really tough hide and magical regeneration. When Recovery Girl passed among them to provide healing, Izuku offered his help. The elder heroine kindly turned him down. The boy thus went home, wondering if his score had been high enough to pass. Meanwhile, the teachers were fiercely arguing. "What are we going to do?" Cementus painfully asked. Nearly half the contestants attacked the zero-pointer. "We cannot give them all rescue points. This would screw the scores. This is unfortunately what we should do." Power Loader sighed. Their rallying and team up against the Executor definitely qualifies as rescue, and they successfully managed to take it down. They should be rewarded. Neza raised his paws. 3 points for all of them. Not enough to significantly shift the scores, but noticeable enough to be a reward. "Fair enough, I guess." President Nick chuckled. In the meantime, little listener's protection of that kid was amazing. I wanted to shout hell yeah when that force field appeared, and the thing didn't even bulge. The pointer hammered at it like no tomorrow, and the barrier didn't even shake. "We are totally giving him rescue points for that stunt, right?" Ectoplasm hummed. Contestant number 2702, Izuku Midoriya. The magical kid. From what we've seen during the exam, he spent a lot of time helping other contestants, both by healing them and protecting them. His rescue score is one of the highest, right behind Itsuka Kendo and Chako Uraraka. His villain score, however, is nothing to write about. It's enough to make him pass, but that's it. Neza closed his eyes. I seem to recall All Might saying he chose to study blood magic specifically for its defensive properties, and cardinal magic for the versatility it provided. Sure, he can go on the offensive as he demonstrated at the start. That was a big energy sword for a kid so small. Black King uttered, uneasy. But Midoriya seems to prefer focusing on rescue and support. A kind of heroic combat medic. Focused on helping, but perfectly able to take out a villain if needed. I like him already. Not every hero chooses this path. Eraserhead huffed. That, and his magic interests you. Why, of course. A lost art that no one has used in the past 2 centuries, with the potential of altering reality. Of course, this is interesting. And the one wielding it is just as much. No Quirk. Alright, time to resurrect a long-forgotten practice. I should commend this boy for his tenacity alone. And his craftiness. The other teachers collectively sighed and looked at the ranking. 36 students had passed the test. In alphabetical order, they were Liga Aoyama, Mina Ashido, Suyu Asui, Yusetsu Uwais, Kajiro Bondo, Manga Fukidashi, Toru Higakure, Tenya Ida, Kyoka Jiro, Senator Kabar, Tageru Kamakiri, Denki Kaminari, Itsuka Kendo, Ijiro Kirishima, Koji Koda, Yukadai, Kinoko Komori, Shihai Kawaro, Minoru Mineta, Nido Manama, Mashiro Ojiro, Hiryu Rin, Rikio Sato, Hanta Sero, Ibar Shiozaki, Jiroda Shishida, Niranjeki Shoda, Mizo Shoji, Tetsu 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 Tetsu, Fumakage Tokoyami, Pony Tsunatori Komori, Kasei Tsubiraba, Achako Uraraka, Ryako Yanagi, and Momo Yairose. Add to this the 4 students that passed the recommendation exam: Shoto Todoroki, Katsuki Bakugo, Juzo Hananuki, and Sasuna Tokic, and they had 40 students qualified to join the hero course. Midnight stretched her fingers. Now, for the funny part. Who goes where? All Might grimace. Seeing the perpetually smiling hero shift to a frown made more than a few teachers worry. For starter, young Deku and young Midoriya cannot be in the same class. We would have to expel one of them before the first day is over. Oh, why? Because they go to the same school. And young Midoriya is technically Quirkless. And young Deku is his primary tormentor. The boy uses his bully's beatings as training for his blood magic. Eraserhead's eyes narrowed. Why is the brat still in the roster, then? Niz aside. Because he was recommended by Hawks himself and passed the exam with flying colors. If we want to expel him, we need to wait until he joined us and demonstrated his ugly character. The underground pro grumbled. Send him to me. I'll keep him in check. Deku to class 1A, then. Very well. It's even better that Midoriya goes to class 1B, since Vlad King controls blood, and the boy's magic involves it. I have no issue with it. Vlad King approved. Next, send Todoroki with Deku. Endeavor and Hawks are friend. Here's to hoping the two will for a similar friendship, and send Juzo to class 1B. Ectoplasm suggested. My nephew is very kind and mellow. I'm sure he and Midoriya will become friends. Good idea. Next, Tokic in class 1B. Class 1 already has 2 recommended students. Present Mick hummed. Who was the boy Midoriya shielded? Ichiro Kirishima. He and Mina Ashido were classmates. Send them in class 1B. Little listener save Kirishima. Such events tend to create lasting bonds. And speaking of rescue, Tenya Iida saved Achako Uraraka from the zero-pointer. But I remember the little one. He yelled at Midoriya for being disturbing during the exam's introduction. Put them both in 1A. Approved. Anything else? All Might hummed and played the video of Izuku's face-off with the zero-pointer. Are there some who passed the exam? Yasubara Shiozaki, Manga Fukudashi, Momo Yoirosu, Rakido Sato, Kasei Tsubiraba, and Funakage Tokoyami. Send them along. Present Mick frowned when he recognized a face among the videos. Wait, hold on. That girl with the silver hair and the telekinetic quirk. During the introduction, she called out the Iida boy for his interruption, and said she could understand Midoriya's mumbling. Neza raised a brow. Her name is Ryako Yanagi. Fine, to class 1B she goes. Slowly, one student after the other, the 40 teens were divided. Kawaro and Komori are classmates. Tokoyami is already in class 1B. Send them to class 1A, and add Tetsu along. Kirishima already has a similar quirk. We got 2 foreigners. Hirurin and Pony Tsunatori. Who goes where? 1 for Tsunatori. 1B for Rin. Monoma has a copy quirk. I will take him. Your erasure wouldn't do much with him. Don't underestimate me, Vlad. Fine, I'll take Aoyama. In the end, class 1 had Katsuki Bakugo, Shoto Todoroki, Tenya Iida, Achako Uraraka, Shihai Kawaro, Kinoko Komori, Tetsu, Yuga Aoyama, Pony Tsunatori, Koji Koda, Denki Kaminari, Tsuyu Asei, Niranjuki Shota, Senator Kabar, Toru Higakure, Minoru Mineta, Tijiro Bando, Kyoka Jiro, Hanta Sero, and Jiroda Shishida. Meanwhile, class 1B had Izuku Midoriya, Juzo Hananuki, Sasuna Tokic, Ichiro Kirishima, Mina Ashido, Funakage Tokoyami, Manga Fukudashi, Ibara Shiozaki, Nido Manama, Kasei Tsubiraba, Rakido Sato, Hirurin, Ryako Yanago, Mashirao Jiro, Yukadai, Itsuka Kendo, Momo Yoirosu, Meizo Shoji, Yusetsu Uwais, and Takeru Kamikiri. All Might was so excited to send Izuku his acceptance letter he had to redo it 3 times. Izuku could barely hold his excitement as he put on his new uniform. He had been admitted. He had passed the entrance exam. Mirio's advice had helped in a way that, frankly speaking, he should have expected. Present Mick hadn't mentioned rescue points, but knowing the hero's job, it shouldn't have been surprising they graded contestants helping others. But it still surprised him, as had the score he draped. Villain points, 20. Rescue points, 60. Total score, 80. The highest. He had laughed almost manically when he had realized he, the Quirkless kid, had gotten top score at the entrance exam. Meanwhile, his mother had nearly flooded their apartment with her tears. At the Goba beach, Toshinori and Mirio had warmly congratulated him, and they had even gone to get ice cream to celebrate. Now, the big day was there, and Izuku stood before the gate of UA. The place still felt as huge as before. One breath and, Izuku, here you are. Oh, senpai, Mirio waved at him. Izuku joined his side. So, what class did you get in? 1B, I know where it is. Follow me. Izuku followed the blonde through the corridors until they reached a massive door with 1.B written in large. This is where I leave you. Mirio smiled. Nejire and Tamaki are waiting for me. Good luck. Thanks. The teen closed his eyes and inhaled. Helpfully, Koch-chan and the guy with the glasses are in a different class. He pushed the door and was welcomed by an odd spectacle. Put your head back to your neck. It's creeping me out. Lol. Killjoy. The green-haired girl wired her head back to place, to the relief of the woolly brunette who gave a long breath. I know it's a quirk, but it's really creepy. And you say you can do it with any body part. Yup, BRR. Izuku found it cool. The quirk had a lot of applications, and he was eager to discuss it with the girl, who turned to another girl with huge assets. Glad to see you with us. I was worried you'd given up after you failed the recommendation exam. I considered it. The other girl admitted. I only went to the entrance exam because I had already signed, but I was really feeling down for my failure. And it's good you went because you ended passing. No hard feeling, none. I failed the recommendation exam through my own weakness. I am the only one responsible. The green-haired girl tapped her shoulder. Well, you're here now. Welcome in. Then she noticed him. She was in his face a moment later. A green bean. Hello. You cute. Izuku was so flustered he couldn't put two words together. His new classmate snickered before a lipless teen held the girl back. Sasuna, easy. You're scaring him. You're not fun, Juzo. But still, he's cute. Right. Izuku looked away nervously, his face red. It was the first time anyone called him that. He found his spot in the back of the classroom and sat there, trying to make himself small. Yes, his class didn't have Koch-chan. Yes, he had magic so he actually had powers. Yes, he had scored highest at the entrance exam. But old habits were hard to break. The class slowly filled in, and he recognized several familiar faces among the newcomer. The busty girl with the ponytail was one of them, as was the bird-headed boy and the girl with vine for hair. However, when a boy with spiky red hair and saw-shaped teeth came to him, he was surprised. Do we know each other? The boy looked pained. You don't recognize me. His skin hardened to a familiar look. You saved me from the zero-pointer. Your barrier took everything the robot was throwing at us, while the others took it down. The look of the skin in the event mentioned finally jolted Izuku's memory. The teen blinked a few times. You got a new haircut. Your hair didn't look like that during the exam. Yeah. The other teen confirmed. I wanted to celebrate being accepted with a change of style. New year, new me. Well, it fits you. Soon, everyone was present. Vlad King entered the room at last. Good morning. I am your homeroom teacher, Vlad King. Welcome to Class 1B. I will take you to the opening ceremony. Then we will have a quick apprehension test with the other hero class. Izuku held the urge to gush. As a blood-using hero, the teen naturally respected him. He doubted, however, that his classmates would take kindly to his muttering. So, he put a hand on his mouth and bit. The urge to ramble became even stronger after they entered the courtyard, and the rest of the UA staff came into view. All of them were pros. Izuku had to fight against himself to not squeal and ramble about them. The speech went on, every student listening with more or less intensity for about an hour and a half before being dismissed. This year, we are implementing a new feature. Dormitories. It isn't mandatory, but we know a lot of you come from far, and it will be easier for them to stay on campus. To those who chose that option, your affairs have been brought to your room. You will be given the afternoon to unpack. Izuku had decided to pick the dorms. He would miss his mom, but he still had 40 minutes of travel, and a full hour and 20 minutes to come and go back from school every day was a bit strenuous. Choosing what to bring had been a greater challenge than the entrance exam. He still had, and his suitcase was now waiting for him. He would add to it over the weeks, depending what was missing. Next step was getting their gym clothes and heading to the PE grounds. As Vlad King had said, they were with Class 1A. Izuku shuddered and hid behind his classmate with the hidden mouth and oddly shaped arms. He had spotted not only Bakugo but the tall teen with the glasses in the other class. Taking his scalpel from his shoe, he started engraving symbols in his skin. No one noticed him. 1A's homeroom teacher, which he barely managed to recognize as the underground pro racer head, grumbled. Why did Nezu have both classes attend Quirk and heroic training together? I had to spend an hour and a half listening to that rodent instead of getting straight to business. Vlad King shrugged. Don't ask me. You have your own way of teaching. Besides, the opening ceremony is not that uninteresting. They're here to be heroes. Our classes, yes. The others, no. Well, not all of them. You know there happens a Gen Ed student does well enough during the sport festival to graduate. The erasure hero shrugged and listed the different exercises. Izuku added a few buffs just in case, hiding himself from his classmates' views. Sasuna winked to Tenya. You got into... Yeah, Momo, look. Engine Boy also joined through the entrance exam. Tenya huffed and turned away. Momo walked to him. Good to see you got in as well. How are you? Still sour I couldn't pass the recommendation exam. I really wanted to make Big Brother proud. I know I managed to pass the regular entrance exam, but still, Tensei had hopes in me and I left him down. I'm bitter. Momo didn't answer. Her sponsor had been Best Genius, the fiber hero famous for his influence in fashion, and a good friend of the Yoirozu family, and, if she dared to admit, somewhat of a surrogate uncle. She hadn't been happy either when she failed the exam, though his words had been supportive. She was there, now. And so was Tenya. They still had a chance to prove the faith of their sponsors hadn't been misplaced, even if they had only gotten in through the regular entrance exam. They started with the softball pitch. With his quirk, Deku sent the ball flying 705 meters away. One by one, the students of Class 1 and B threw the ball with their quirks, some getting genuinely creative, while others stretched the definition of launching to borderline cheating. Sasuna floating her hand as far as she could and then throwing the ball definitely felt like that. Momo simply blew it away with a cannon. Izuku couldn't help but think maybe a grenade launcher would have been more practical. Tenya, meanwhile, kicked it with his engine-boosted leg. The girl with hooves and horns, Pony Tsunatori, stuck the ball to one of her horns and launched it. Yes, it counts. Vlad retorted to the short kid with balls for hair. The goal of the game is to launch the ball using your quirk. That's it. Launching, he says. Then one of his students, the silver-haired boy with eyebrows circling his eyes, noted the exercise was fun. Wrong answer. Eraserhead retorted with a devious grin. Fun? You think this is a game? Alright, new rule. Whoever ranks last will be expelled. The pro glared. This is a hero course, not a daycare. If you're here to have fun, might as well leave now. Hero business is dangerous, even deadly at times. It is not fun. Now, back at it. And trust me, I will make good on this threat. The students of Class 1 will like deer in the headlights. The students of Class 1B fearfully turned to their homeroom teacher. Vlad glared at Eraserhead and stood between him and his class. Not mine. It doesn't matter where you rank. Unless you do something serious, you are all staying. Izuku and his classmates breathed in relief. The team took the ball and went to the field. One quick glance told him Bakugo had noticed him. The blonde was staring at him in shock. This meant he had little time before the storm fell. Gripping the softball, Izuku threw it. He could feel the strength coursing through his veins, Nefario magic shaped by the sigils to enhance him. The ball fell 300 meters away. Bakugo was on him a moment later. You shitty nerd. Izuku mentally thanked himself for having added Graph and UN, both enhanced by Gon. The sigils of will and time, powered by energy, had a much stronger effect. His bully fell on him like a bat out of hell, his explosion scorching his skin and tearing his gym clothes. Izuku crossed his arms before him, grit his teeth and glared at teachers and students alike. Stay out of this. I got it. Bakugo raged. His victim endured. You shitty bastard. What the fuck was that? Where did you get this strength? Is it a quirk? It can't be. You quirkless, Deku. Useless, powerless, defenseless, nobody who's not worth shit. You remember this, nerd. You're Deku. Defenseless Izuku. Know your fucking place. I don't know how you cheated to get here, but you have nothing to do in the hero course. Nothing. You aren't a hero and you'll never be. You're powerless and useless. Remember. Deku. Put it in your fucking head, nerd. The pummeling stopped. Izuku breathed, dusted himself and checked his injuries. Hey, we're already healing. Done ranting Koch-chan. He carved UN on his skin, reinforcing the effect. This time, everyone saw him act. Bakugo blinked. Daffy is that, my power. You're right, Koch-chan. I am quirkless. But I am no longer powerless. There are powers out there besides quirks. They have simply been forgotten over the years. That's why I'm teaching myself how to use them. Because, as far as I know, there are no other mages out there to teach me. Everyone but the teachers froze. Did you just say mages? Yes. I am a mage. A blood and cardinal mage, to be exact. I carve sigils on my skin to heal and enhance myself and use handmade cards to cast spells with various effects. Since I have no quirk, I need to compensate somehow. I do it with magic. Bakugo's fist struck his jaw. Then fucking stop. You were born powerless. Deal with it and stay where you belong, nerd. You have nothing to do there. Izuku shrugged. The bruise was almost gone. In a book I found, the author wrote that magic is the art of telling reality how to behave. Reality said I had no power, and thus was useless. I will use magic to tell reality it's wrong. I have powers, and I will use them to save others. His voice was steady and even. Despite the wounds, the bruises and the burns, the teen remained steadfast, unyielding. One of Bakugo's classmates scoffed. In other words, you're cheating. It's not like I have a choice. I am quirkless. Got even the odds somehow. Bakugo was beyond livid. You fucking shitty. How dared he? How dared the bloody nerd try to rise above his station? How dare he think he was something when the world told him he wasn't? Izuku was quirkless. This meant he had no power. He had no worth. He was nothing. A pebble to be stomped on and crushed to dust. But the nerd hadn't accepted it. He had found a power that wasn't a quirk. He had taken said power and made it his. This was simply unforgivable. The nerd was trying to rise above his station, trying to become something he wasn't meant to be. This isn't right. The world isn't right, Koch-chan. It's the job of heroes to right those wrongs. This is not what I meant, nerd. You're trying to become something you're not. Just fucking stop. Make me. Bakugo roared and raised a fist. The spiky R.D. to Jiro Kirishima. He had introduced himself as they changed clothes step before Izuku, skin hard as a rock. The blow made him stagger, but he didn't yield. Gritting his teeth, he glanced at Izuku. During the entrance exam, you summoned a barrier to protect me. My turn to be your shield. The girl with thorns for hair, Ibara Shiozaki, stepped to Ichiro's side. The blood of the lamb shall not be shed in vain. If every drop he spills means our salvation, it is our duty to make them count. Their thorns sprung from the ground, and Bikugo had to take several steps back to avoid them. Nido Manama, the blonde copycat, copied Ichiro's quirk and joined them. You know what? I like you. No quirk. No problem. I'll just resurrect a long-forgotten kind of power. No big deal. Any chance I could learn it too. Unless I copied a proper quirk, I'm pretty much quirkless myself. Tokoyami, the bird-headed teen, summoned his partner. We remember you from the entrance exam. You fought with us. A bond forged in blood is not easily broken. Ours remains strong. Dark Shadow, Revel, the entity of living darkness, shrieked as it appeared. One by one, the 1B students joined the group. Soon, all were standing between Izuku and Bikugo. The message was clear. If the explosive blonde wanted to hurt the young mage, he would have to go through them. A lot of them had highly personal reasons to support the green-haired teen. Bikugo was forced to relent. You're still a cheating nobody, Deku. Don't let it get to your head. If it wasn't for that stupid magic, you'd still be a useless nerd, a pebble in my path. His glare was venomous. You'll need more than parlor tricks to match me. I'm the best, got it. Always was. I was always better than you, and it's not gonna change. You should have stayed where you belong. Izuku's glare was like steel. I alone decide where I belong. I learned magic specifically so I could make that choice. And that you made it this far speaks volumes about your skills and tenacity. Momo finished. The exercises started again. Vlad sighed. And All Might warned us about not putting them in the same room. He was dead right. Can't be helped. Eraser had grumbled. At least, we have proof of Bikugo's ugly character. I will have a firm talk with him when the lesson is over. Izuku did decently during the standing long jump. However, his classmate Yusetsu Wei spiffed the landing and stumbled. When he tried to stand, a jolt of pain crossed his leg and made him yelp. Izuku was at his side the next moment. Which ankle? The left. I think it's sprained. Ow, hang on, it will sting a little. He took his bone scalpel. Away shuddered when it neared his skin and looked away as Izuku carved you in. He was right, it did hurt. About as much as getting a jab. But then, the pain faded and he could feel almost physically as his ankle mended itself. It took only a handful of minutes for the sprain to vanish. What was that? Offensive blood magic. It works by carving Inachian sigils in the skin with a bone tool. The sigil I carved is Yuen, the sigil of time. One of its meanings is to renew, hence why it's used for healing. Other sigils give different enhancements. Think you could use them to boost me, no? Vlad King glared. This is a quirk assessment test. It is meant to show how far you can go using your quirks. Doping, be it with chemicals of enhancing magic, is strictly forbidden. Midoriya can boost himself because the magic is his and yes, he can use it to heal you. But that's it. Healing only. Yes, sensei. Izuku meekly said. So, magical enhancement was out. But healing was fair. The 1B students had no issue pushing themselves further. It didn't matter that they got hurt for their trouble. They had a healer on hand. They could afford it. Vlad King soon noticed the loophole abuse inside. It's going to be one of those classes. Eraser had fully agreed. Problem children. All of them. The whole bloody lot. Those 3 years were going to be long. In the end, no one was expelled. Though he had meant to do it, the reason the underground pro expelled students was because they had no potential. His current class had it. Yes, even Minoru Mineta, who had ranked dead last. Between wanting to impress the ladies and not wanting to be outdone by Class 1B, the short teen had given his all. Eraserhead could respect that, if anything, even though he would have to keep an eye on him. The brat seemed to have a pervert streak. Even though they were dying to ask more about his magic, Izuku's classmates had the decency to wait after they were done dressing. That didn't mean they asked no question. That explosive Pomeranian gave you one hell of a beating. Away snorted. Are you alright? Don't worry, it's not the worst he gave me. Really? Yes. I was conscious at the end. The whole class was silent. Wait. Kamakiri said slowly. You're actually telling us that blonde bomber guy once beat you to unconsciousness? Not once. It happened several times. Izuku shrugged. Actually, those beatings make good exercise for blood magic. I know the sigils by heart now, and they also taught me to calibrate the effect. What beating required only UN, what required graph, and which needed gone on top of it. And your teachers did nothing. I was just a useless quirkless kid. They didn't care, right? The green-haired teen used magic, not a quirk. Different origins, but both were powers all the same. Kamakiri laughed. I'm starting to like you. You use beatings as training sessions, learn a new power all on your own, just because you don't have one, spit in the face of reality, and you're not afraid of a little pain. You're hardcore. The bar growled. I'm more worried about the fact his teachers did nothing to help him. Sure, he was quirkless, but he was one of their students. They had a duty to help him and failed it thoroughly. Izuku looked away. I don't have a quirk. As far as society is concerned, I'm worthless, and he was at a loss. I don't know. That's the way it is. Your power is your worth. No power, no worth. I have magic now, but in the past, I had no power of any kind. Ergo, I was worthless. The bar's hair danced angrily. How uncaring. Have these people never heard of compassion? The teen didn't answer. That's in the past, anyway. We are in UA. The teachers seem better than the ones in my previous schools. That does in no way excuse your former teacher's misbehavior. God teaches us forgiveness, but some people really don't make it easy. Turn the other cheek, easier said than done when they so blatantly ignore the pleas of their charges. Wish they got what they deserve. Shinto is heavy on karma, right? Bite them in the bottoms, I'd like to see that, she was muttering. Izuku decided to abandon the subject and finish changing. The rest of his classmates were also speaking quietly, and, from the tones they used, they weren't happy either. It surprised him. As far as he was concerned, such attitude was a fact of life. Things were like that and that was it. He had learned magic to give himself powers and thus become equal to everyone, but that society's attitude toward his powerless self outraged his classmates was really unexpected. Lunch, courtesy of Lunch Rush, was amazing. When the afternoon rolled, it was time to head to the dorms and set their room. Izuku glanced at his classmates. Yuzo Hanayuki, Sasuna Tokichi, Ijiro Kirishima, Mina Ashido, Fumikage Tokoyami, Ibara Shiozaki, Nido Manama, Kasei Tsubiraba, Rikido Sato, Ryako Yanagi, Itsuka Kendo, Momo Yoyorozu and Yusetsu Weiss had chosen to be full boarders, leaving only Manga Fukudashi, Hirurin, Mashiro Aojiro, Yukadai, Meizo Shoji and Tageru Kamakiri as day boarders. The dormitories were at Heights Alliance and divided into 4 floors of 5 people, the boys left and the girls right. Sure, not all rooms were occupied, but the UA staff had decided to be cautious and plan in case of an entire class going full boarder. The students looked at the plan. While the first floor had the kitchen and common room, second floor had Izuku, Nido and Fumikage for the boys and Momo and Sasuna for the girls. Third floor had Juzo, Yusetsu and Ichiro for the boys, and Mina and Ibara for the girls. And fourth floor had Kasei and Rikido for the boys and Ryako and Itsuka for the girls. The students lost no time setting their room. Izuku looked at his room. He had taken a handful of hero posters and figurines, the rest being made of books. Almost nothing told about his study of magic except for the books directly dedicated to it. He glanced at his calendar. April 8th. He had 2 months to complete All Might's birthday gift. He already knew what he wanted to make. A necklace, not in gold since he wasn't skilled enough yet, but in brass, polished to look like gold. It would be made of links holding a single medallion on which 8 gems were set. The gems would be rock crystal, sapphire, ruby, peridot, amber, rose quartz, amethyst and citrine, set in a circle and connected by a silver line, probably nickel silver. It would take time, especially the links of the chain. Brass was easy to work, but links the size he wanted were delicate to craft. He decided to start with the easiest part, the medallion. Taking his key, he went to the library. Does anyone have Midoriya's number? The answer was no. The green-haired teen was nowhere to be found, and his classmates didn't know how to reach him. This was more than a little problematic when they wanted to have a dorm room contest. They decided to call Vlad King. Midoriya has gone missing. We can't find him anywhere. Nido explained, anxiety in his voice. Vlad had the boy's number. However, when he called him, his phone didn't find the boy. He decided to turn to All Might. Fortunately, the symbol of peace seemed to know. If not even his phone can be reached, there is only one place he can be. I will send Young to Gata. And so, Mirio showed up to Class 1B's doors. All Might said you can't find Nido. Yes. Vlad King confirmed. We can't even reach his phone. Mirio nodded and took the key All Might had given him. One twist in the common room's door and it opened to reveal the library. The students couldn't help but marvel at the size of the place. What is this place? The library. The place where Mido gets most of his knowledge of magic. It's in a pocket dimension, which explained why phones didn't reach. They flinched slightly when the librarian appeared. Mirio didn't. Hey there. Where's Mido? At the craft station. He has finished the medallion for All Might's gift. Mirio held a chuckle. Ah, he's crafting. No wonder he didn't see time fly. You say it as if it's a regular occurrence. Momo noted. It is. They found Izuku in the crafting room, busy polishing a disc of brass until it shone like gold. Mirio cleared his throat. He took it as a good point that the teen didn't jump. Senpai, yup. Your classmates were looking for you but couldn't reach you. They called me an All Might. This time, Izuku did jump. Wow, sorry. I totally forgot phones don't answer in the library. Leave the door open next time. Vlad King grumbled. Even if we can't reach you, we can still find you. Izuku had the decency to look sheepish. Momo looked around. So, this place is entirely dedicated to magic. Impressive. I can't begin to fathom the work that was put in it. Well, for starter, space. Then time so the documents would rewind themselves to shape. Then necromancy to bind the spears. Restoration, of course. And many others, but these are the most important. Sasuna looked at her homeroom teacher. Magic lessons when, sensei. Vlad outright growled. Not before several months. We need to assess what Midoriya can do and figure how magic works in the first place. Once we know more about the matter, then we will consider whether or not other students should learn. If it happens, you can already sign me up. She wasn't the only one thinking so. More than a few of Izuku's classmates were, if not interested in learning magic, at least curious to know more. Izuku dutifully handed his homeroom teacher a key to the library. This way, you won't have to call All-Mighter Senpai if I go missing. I'll probably be there. Thank you. They ended having their dorm room contest. Sato won by way of cake. Go compete with that. The following days were, for all intent and purpose, average school day. English, Japanese, math and history were taught among other, except it was pro heroes doing the teaching. Izuku bit his lips almost enough to draw blood so he wouldn't mumble. Each pro was well known, and talking about their quirk would have been really interesting, but he wasn't sure his classmates would appreciate the noise. So, he held himself like an urge to go to the bathroom. As soon as recess was there and he was alone, however, he let it out, took his notebook and wrote page after page. Just because he had a different source of power didn't mean he had lost interest in quirks. When lunch rolled, he took his platter and found a quiet and lonely spot to eat, where he joined Mario and his friends, Tamaki and Nejire. The blonde was the only person he completely trusted in the school. His classmates, he was still uncertain. Sure, they had caring and interest, but Izuku knew all too well how people wore masks. Everyone had their secrets, and, besides, old habits die hard, and his habits were to be cautious around his classmates. They noticed, and, given they had all seen the Kugos beat down their comrade, they all had a fairly solid idea why. The bar was silently enraged. Ijiro felt protective. Momo wanted to help him. Nito understood. All wanted to do something, to earn his trust somehow. That day, during recess, Izuku took his cards and started playing with them. Tokoyami looked at them. The major arcana. People often use them to divine the future. I wonder, can you do it as well? Izuku hummed. Divination is actually a path of the celestial sphere. I think the other spheres have their own means of predicting the future, but they are much less accurate than divination, and more prone to interpretation. He looked at his cards. I don't know. I never tried before. The book on cardinal magic describes a way to do it, but it outright says the predictions can have various meanings, and it's easy to be mistaken. Then entertain me. The magic you use is dark, yet you use it for good. I am curious. Izuku shrugged and shuffled the 22 cards. Divination with the major arcana is a bit complicated. First, you need to ask a question and an open one, not one whose answer is yes or no. Alright. Let me think we have a road course with class 1 tomorrow. How will it unfold? Izuku nodded. The question was valid. Next, I will draw 6 cards in a cross pattern. Each card has a meaning, but remember said meaning is open to interpretation. Depending the context, it can have different senses. Duly noted, the first card he drew was the world. The first card is the basic situation, generally the person asking the question. Tokoyami nodded. Izuku drew again. It was temperance. He put it above the world. The second card is the context of the question. He drew 2 cards, the hangman and the emperor, and put them on both sides of the world. The third and fourth cards represent a decision to make, a choice offered to the person asking. Tokoyami nodded. He could feel his curiosity growing. What did the cards mean? Izuku drew, and what he got made him frown. He put the reverse tower beneath the world. The fifth card represents a warning, something the one questioning should be mindful of when acting. Reverse cards almost always have negative meanings. He drew one last card, the Fool, and put it under the reverse tower. The sixth and final card represents a certainty, something that will happen regardless of the choices you make. Whatever you do, you can be sure whatever it omens will come true. Tokoyami nodded. And so, your draw is complete. Now, what do the cards mean? Izuku caressed the world. Globally speaking, the world means generality. It's an event which affects everyone, but its positive meanings are gathering and fulfillment, while its negative meanings are incompletion and banality. In the context of your question, I think it means both of our classes. The prediction will affect all of us, a not unexpected signification. The others. Temperance means a message or understanding, but it can also mean miscommunication or dwelling on something. In the context, I think it means a lesson. The lesson we'll have. This sounds fairly logical. Next, Izuku frowned. The hangman and the emperor were either or. The hangman can mean sacrifice and letting go, or laziness and loss of control. The emperor, meanwhile, means either authority and common sense, or it can mean harshness and opposition. If you ask me, at the top of my head, I have no clue. Fair enough. Next, Izuku actually glared at the reverse tower. The tower can mean upheaval and a breaking point, but it can also mean release and cleansing, or it can mean a crisis or fall. Since it's inverted, I don't think the omen is positive. I'll go for a crisis. Dark omen indeed. But, as you said, the meaning is open to interpretation, especially since we lack the meanings of the hangman and the emperor. Now, the last card. The Fool. It can mean a journey or a visitor, but it can also mean futility and distraction. It's straight, so the meaning should be positive. What it is, though sorry. Predicting the future isn't my magic specialty, and the arcana is especially prone to interpretation. We got half the keys in hand. Tokoyami reassured. Our classes will have a lesson in common, and a critical situation will happen. Let us remember the 3 cards and figure them out when it happens. Sounds wise. Lad King and a handful of their classmates had caught the event. The Blood Hero silently wondered what it omened for the next day. That Thursday, All Might came in dressed in his Silver Age costume, as bombastic as ever. As expected, with Lad King in the Racerhead, they would have battle training. They gathered in the changing room and put on their costumes. Izuku nodded. Unfortunately, there had been no way to craft armor plating out of bone, so he had done without it. His outfit was a black shirt and dark green pants with knee-high white boots and a white-headed long coat, complete with green fingerless gloves. The long coat, however, was lined with green triangles at the bottom, on the sleeves and around the hood, and a green utility belt with a silver buckle that spotted a green cross closed it. The boots were similarly lined with triangles at the top, and a green tissue strap was tied by silver clasps around the ankle. His decks were tied at the belt, and the sheath of his knife safely hung in the small of his back, right atop the belt bag which contained, among others, snacks and the first aid kit. All in all, he was quite proud of the design. The message was clear. He was a healer. The waist gave him a look. You remind me of white mages. White mages, a healer class in Final Fantasy. The biggest difference is that the triangles are red. I didn't know. The teen's outfit was mostly brown with armor on the chest and